So many people have been talking about Las Vegas lately, and I completely understand it is a popular topic that people are talking about as far as trends. Las Vegas is dead, the drop in tourism, domestic and international, and the exorbitant prices, the price gouging from the big wigs, the big suits in Las Vegas, and we're going to talk about it. This is 12 months data from the Las Vegas Convention Center. Hotel occupancy in June 2024, it looks like about 87% booked. June 2025, it's at 80% booked. The average daily rate in June 2024 was around $175. I didn't realize that October was the high time in Las Vegas. Over here, you see last October, the high rates were close to $225 a night. That is wildly expensive. But fast forward to June 2025, the average daily rate is $163, which is still quite high. But then you look at the room nights occupied. Over here, June 2024, close to 4 million rooms booked. Down here, right now, June 2025, they're at 3.5 million room nights booked. That is a pretty dramatic drop in year-over-year time. So you would think people are not booking so much, right? Maybe we should lower the cost. That is the law of supply and demand, right? Lower the cost, try to bring people back. I saw this joke in a Las Vegas sub. Mysterious Worker says, high demand, raise prices. Low demand, raise prices. What's wrong with this picture? And then Not Jordan Symes says, consistent demand, raise prices. And then Snapcap says, prices now too high from raised prices, raise prices. They're pricing out the local economy that could go down and maybe frequent some of the hotels. But they're like, nope, we're just going to keep on raising the prices. Now let's talk about everything else that's going on in Las Vegas. This article is coming out of California, so they're doing a California slant, but they also talk about the other things that are going on in Vegas. So this article from the LA Times says, Las Vegas is down on its luck as tourism drops. Why is kind of California's fault? All right, so it says, Sin City is facing a summer swoon, and Californians, by far the largest tourist contingent, data show, are partially to blame. Visits to Las Vegas were down 11.3% in June 2025 versus a year earlier, according to data from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitor Authority. Traffic on I-15 at the California-Nevada border was down 4.3% over the same period, suggesting fewer visits from the Golden State heading for Vegas casinos. The number of air travelers into Vegas overall declined 6.3% over the previous June. In 2024, Californians made up a fifth of air travelers into Vegas, with nearly half of those coming from the LA metro area. A demographic report from the Visitor Authority estimated that Southern California provided 30% of all visitors to Vegas in 2024. Add it all up, and Californians could be responsible for a significant portion of the decline in Vegas tourism. Tourism within the United States is only part of the picture, though, as experts previously predicted slumps in international tourism across the country. The Convention and Visitors Authority estimates that 12% of the city's visitors are international. A report from the World Travel and Tourism Council projected that the U.S. would lose $12.5 billion in international spending in 2025. While the other nations are rolling out the welcome mat, the United States government is putting up the closed sign, Julia Simpson, the council's president, said in a statement. The report cited air travel booking data from March that showed a 15% to 20% drop in expected travel from major tourism sources, including the United Kingdom, Germany, and Canada. Visitors from Canada and Mexico made up more than half of international tourists to Vegas in 2024, according to data from the Visitors Authority. But Trump's talk of making Canada the 51st state and his decision to hit Canada with tariffs have not endeared him to Canadian travelers. Meanwhile, media overseas have been bombarded with the stories of capricious denials and detentions at U.S. border crossings. Las Vegas is not alone in its travel woes. In May, Governor Gavin Newsom predicted a Trump slump in international travel to California brought on by the president's tariff regime. Las Vegas thrives on tourism, Representative Stephen Horsford wrote last week on X, but under the Trump slump, the numbers are tanking. Horsford, a Democrat, represents Nevada's 4th congressional district, which includes a portion of Vegas. By many metrics, including visitor totals, convention attendance, and room occupancy rates, Las Vegas has yet to recover fully since the onset of the pandemic. In dollar terms, however, Sin City continues to profit even as visitor numbers drop. Clark County collected $1.16 billion in gambling revenue in June 2025, up 3.5% from a year earlier, because they are increasing prices even as they're slumping. So they're going to make sure that people don't want to come because they are really price gouging with these resort fees and parking rates. Like they're making it so that people with middle income amounts of money are not able to come because they can just go hang out in their own city because many other cities and states are having gambling places instead of coming out to Las Vegas to be price gouged. Let's talk about Kentucky. So I saw this on Threads. It says Kentucky faces major job losses after 3 major whiskey and bourbon distilleries file Chapter 11 bankruptcy, thanks to Trump. They are a red state, and because of all of his rhetoric, it made other countries say, I am going to boycott American products. So Kentucky definitely is facing a boycott. Let's get into a few more of these comments, and then I'll talk about the article that I found. Brittany says, in other words, they got what they voted for. They not only voted for Trump in 3 elections, they kept McConnell in office for an insane number of decades. So, yeah, I have absolutely no sympathy for Kentucky. And then Andrew says, Ontario is the biggest single purchaser of spirits and took U.S. booze off the shelf due to Trump's tariffs and his stupid, dumb 51st state rhetoric. He really made the whole world coalesce and say nope to America. Mom of 3 says, Maker's Mark has been my bourbon of choice since I was in my 20s, even traveled to their distillery in 2016. Now I drink this really great whiskey from Nova Scotia called Red Bank Whiskey. Donald Trump has destroyed America, and this stuff is just beginning. And then Nicole says, Canadians were their biggest customers. Elbows up, Canada. They're not going to forgive America for a very long time. They are going to continue to boycott because it is the principle. It's the principality, Smokey. Let's talk about this article from back in June. It says Whiskey Woes is Kentucky's $9 billion bourbon industry on the rocks. Kentucky has seen and enjoyed bourbon's boom over the past decade. Are we beginning to see its bust? Since at least 2015, the distilling industry has steadily grown. Businesses large and small reaped the benefits. But in recent months, 1 new Kentucky distillery has closed, another is millions in debt before it opens, a third is facing a lien the CEO calls a minor blip, while one of the giants of American whiskey has seen its stock price sink to its lowest point in over a decade. What's going on? While the issues with Garrard County Distilling, Luca Mariano Distillery, Whiskey House of Kentucky, and Brown-Forman vary, they all appear to touch on the most common market force of them all, supply and demand. Until recently, expensive new distilleries with business plans based on increasing demand for American whiskey seemed like a sure thing. Even established bourbon makers like Louisville-based Brown-Forman expanded and ramped up, especially during the COVID pandemic shutdown when demand skyrocketed. But now demand for bourbon in the U.S. is down, and overseas markets are either cut off. Bourbon and American whiskey are still largely off the shelves in Canada or hampered by Trump's wildly fluctuating tariffs. So it says bourbon and American whiskey are still largely off the shelves in Canada. So that was back in June. Fast forward to now. Kentucky faces massive job loss as 3 major whiskey distilleries go bankrupt. Kentucky's bourbon industry is worth $9 billion annually. However, it's facing unprecedented turmoil. 3 major facilities filed for bankruptcy within 8 months, affecting the industry and thousands of jobs in America's whiskey heartland. The industry supports over, listen to this, 2,300 Kentucky workers and has an annual payroll of $1.6 billion. The thing about it is it supports 23,000 Kentucky workers. Those are workers who spend money in the wider community. This is going to have a rolling impact, a ripple effect throughout this whole state. This is going to be so detrimental, and so much of it is unforced errors. Mounting pressure. Beyond the bankruptcies, established whiskey giants are purging workforces. According to Fortune, Brown-Forman cut 700 jobs in January. Green River Distilling eliminated 26 positions, or 25% of its workforce, reported the spirits business. Diageo paused production at its Lebanon facility through June 2025, affecting additional workers statewide. The perfect storm. Multiple factors are crushing distilleries simultaneously, according to the Washington Times. American whiskey sales declined 1.8% in 2024 to $5.2 billion. Rising inflation increased production costs, while younger consumers shifted towards canned cocktails and non-alcoholic alternatives. International tariff threats further squeezed export markets. I'll end with this. Local devastation. Lancaster Mayor Michael Gaffney confirmed that Garrard County Distilling's 60 workers were suspended indefinitely. When it opened, the facility represented the largest new independent distillery in Kentucky. Local chamber director Diane Bisher told WEKU that affected employees don't know anything about a potential reopening. America could have voted in a half-dead goat. America could have voted in a moldy cheese sandwich, and they would have done a better job than Donald Trump. Right now, we have the globe against us. Canada's going elbows up. Other countries are boycotting us, and I completely understand. So this is where we are. For all the people that voted for this and lost your jobs, I hope that you're stressed. I hope that you feel this every single day. I hope that your cortisol level has increased and your waistline has increased 3 to 7 inches. And I hope that you feel this for the next 7 to 10 years based on your vote. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think about all this. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.